You're a lot like me in a way that can always sympathize with things that we haven't been through.
Yeah.
Could definitely see ourselves through the pain. I think that's
maybe it's because I like every character.
Do what now?
I said I like every actor that plays a character in that movie, so it like hits home for me. It's like I like one from Walking Dead, one from 15 other movies, and then Shia LaBeouf's one of my favorite actors ever. And then if they go through this traumatic experience, you already have like personalized yourself with these people already, and then I don't know, dude. Fury's rough. It's hard to watch. It was worth the purchase, but it's like, you know what? I'm sad today. Fuck it. I'm gonna watch Fury.
Yeah, that'd be a mood movie. I'm a little bit right now, so it's definitely like hit me in those feels.
Well, you know what, man? I'm super glad that you watched that right before this amazingly positive podcast.
I probably shouldn't have.
Shit, bro.
I can rearrange brains.
Well, all right, man. Well, you ready to get this thing started?
Yeah, let's prompt me up for. We had talked about the whole premise of it was friendships from long times ago and how they evolve and.
Yeah, dude. We're just talking the way that we did the other night. We're just no preface, no for real format. It's just open. We were just having a conversation, talking about music, talking the same shit we did the other night,
Sure, for sure. Speaking of music, we got the guitar next to me.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, don't play that shit while we're recording, for God's sake.
Don't do it?
Do not do it.
Alright, I will abstain.
For sound purposes and sound reasons, do not do it.
Hell yeah.
Alright, well, you just let me know when you're ready to roll, man, and we'll get it started.
Yeah, I'm just holding the girl's clothes right now. So whenever you're ready, man, I'm good.
Alright, cool. Alright, well, that's good, because we started like 10 minutes ago, so...
Nice.
Welcome back to another episode of Body Language Podcast tonight. I've got a super awesome episode. One that was sort of unplanned. One that was like, I think definitely, I feel like this beautiful young man, probably in his midst of thought and deeper night, had probably thought about doing this podcast with me. Because if he had a podcast, I know that I would be thinking that I would be doing his podcast. So, everybody put your hands together for my good friend, very good old friend, Travis Manuel. Beautiful, amazing, just guitar playing full, awesome dude.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad you're here.
I've been watching and following what you've been doing. It's really been impressive, and made me want to sprout up and do this on my own. So I'm happy to be a part of the podcast for the first time in my life.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, sorry about the chime. Let me put that on silent real quick. Girlfriend just big talk.
You're fine. Yeah, dude. I'm glad to have you here, man. I felt like whenever we were talking last Christmas, I felt like when I told you I was starting the podcast, I was like, I wonder if Travis, like, by not giving him like an open invite, if that would offend me. If you started a podcast and you didn't just like from the get-go be like, yo, be on my podcast. And I didn't do that to you, and I feel bad because you're a very interesting person. I've always looked up to you. You're a very talented dude, and you're always very well put together from my perspective and by my standards. So I'm glad to have you on, man. It's been a year. This month is 1 year of this podcast, so it's rightfully so. I have you on 1 year in. It's a good.
Congratulations, 1 year, dude. That's hella exciting.
Yeah, dude. This is episode 35, 34, 35.
Right.
Yeah, so I think 35, yeah. So, yeah, man. What are you doing right now? Where are you at?
Right now I'm in my house. Currently I'm living in Salt Lake City, Utah. And I mean, we chatted about that. But for backstory, for the podcast in general, jumped ship from Montgomery. I was living in Auburn, working out of Alex City, and just kind of climbing across Alabama every weekend I got a chance to, and got really invested in that. So I decided I would move to Utah on a whim because a really good friend of mine, roommate, climbing buddy.
Who was it? Anybody I know?
What now?
Anybody I know?
I wish. So from Auburn, do you know Basilia?
Nope.
Basilia? David and Johnny Basilia?
Nope.
Ah, man. David's not the greatest in my opinion. I mean, he's a really nice guy, but like, sometimes you can just see people. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people that's hard to make friends because like I see people like way too soon. But his younger brother, I mean, he's a kid, dude. Like he's like 22, 23 now. Skydiver, rock climber. Was an arborist when we were living together, and I got deep into it and was talking about traveling. And he was like, "Dude, you should move to Moab." And I was like, "Man, what the hell is a Moab?" And he's like, "Dude, it's only like the best, and like it's like the mecca of skydiving, rock climbing, base jumping, mountain biking, like river rafting, like anything." Like he sold me. So I sold everything I had, moved into my car, made a bed in the back of the car, spent a lot of time doing that. And
for the audience, tell them what you drive.
I drive a Subaru Crosstrek, so like the smallest cabin that you can have. I think it's 76 square feet. I literally had 4 12-gallon totes on one side of the car in the back seat. I put one down for my headboard, and I'd put my computer bag underneath my head and like throw a bedroll over that with my bivouac. So like, military grade, like camping equipment. I was sleeping in like 20-degree weather in the wintertime, and it was just like, this is living, dude.
This is living. Dude, it's living. Bro, when you're for real homeless by choice, you get that middle of your drive, just grab the steering wheel and just like scream like, yeah, like I'm on my own. Fuck you, world.
It was no, dude, you're absolutely right. Like it was a truly amazing experience. I would never trade that, and I'm very, very happy I got to experience that because I don't know how you feel about it, man. Do you feel like a lot of people are trapped inside of societal standard to exist in a certain realm that we kind of create?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, everybody's got the whole, especially being from the South, you got that stigma of like wearing a certain thing, studying a certain thing, working in some sort of field that's swallowable for the table sitting next to you. Don't live too loud, but don't be too quiet. Have balls, but don't let them be too big. Then
don't let them hang out your pants.
Like it's just like there's so many different hypocritical, like sit down while you're standing up and be loud while you're being quiet kind of rules that the South has set for me. I feel like so. I mean, maybe a swing short of feeling like the world's out to get me. I feel like, yeah, dude. I feel like we definitely live in a pre-made box that's made by like either your parents or like your employer or whoever you're raised by that may potentially be old-fashioned. And I've met a lot of people who are not old-fashioned that still are pretty adamant about living a certain way. And I don't know, man. Yeah. So to answer your question, I feel that way for sure. I definitely feel like we've kind of evolved this weird little bubble that if you don't necessarily fit. And what's weird, man, is that even amongst my like place for the displaced, my outcast kind of lifestyle, my counterculture, if you will, I'll say that with quotes, kind of life, there's even judgment within that. So it's like anywhere you go, dude, there's always somebody's not living up to somebody's fucking, yeah, you know, so everybody's got some sort of box. Even if you're different and you're like the goth kid that nobody likes from the mall, and you're weird and you eat your boogers and pick your ass and smell it, kind of fucking weird ass type dude. Like, there's even people like that person that is judging someone for doing what they're doing. So it's like even like a homeless person potentially, that, you know what I mean? Yeah, there's so many different pre-made boxes that are made that are stigmatized for every type of youth in the South. I can't even speak on the world, but I can imagine somebody growing up in like a public school system in New York feeling that way about their own personal landscape and layout and how they were raised, you know, because being here in the South, it's like, yes, for sure. Like, oh yeah, for sure.
I think we tend to, I don't know, we have a biological need to kind of like flock together because, you know, togetherness means survivability, right?
Yeah.
But like, of course these niches are made up. And you know what's funny about where I moved from to where I moved to is you can spot the same people from a mile away. Like, I live literally the Dixie of the West.
Is that how you feel?
Oh, they call it that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I can imagine though. Like, that must be such a. It's like anywhere you go, man. There's some sort of outer clique belt of acceptance that you either just have, or have to fight for, or don't give a shit about. It's like one of 3 chapters that you find yourself in, I feel like.
It's true, and I always subscribe to the thought that even when everything changes, everything stays the same.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I can't...
Yeah, you move somewhere totally out. It's completely, what, fucking 600...
1,800 away, man.
1,800 miles away, and it's almost just like an Alabama Midwest.
Ocean.
Yeah. Well, shit, dude.
Yeah, it's weird. It's wild. I'm pretty bummed out I didn't get to visit with you when I came through Alabama for Thanksgiving because, like, you're like my oldest friend that I keep in contact with and, you know, really shared a good bond with. I mean, you taught me how to fucking hardcore dance and all that. Speaking of counterculture, bringing that back into the picture, like, it's funny, you know, like, you mentioned very clearly that, like, no matter where you're at, like, everyone judges you, you know what I mean? But you were always the beacon of hope and light and say, hey, I'll show you this thing. And I met you at a show, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Did I meet you at a show, or was it? I think it was just through, like, you knowing Nate and Chase and all those guys, right?
I think Nate may have invited me to my first show because I met him at when I was working at Moe's. I had been working there for like a year and met Nate at a hardcore show and, you know, told him about the job. And I remember he told one of my bosses who was on the heavier set side, and at the time he was a big jerk, you know, the boss. And well,
was it Dustin?
Oh. No, what's his name? Elliot.
Okay, I didn't know Elliot. Because, you know, I worked at Moe's right after you left.
Oh, yeah? Did you work at the one at East Chase?
I did, because Nate was my boss.
Dustin was that fella that was really pale white, brown hair, and kind of looked like...
Real tall.
Yeah, he was real tall.
Dated Shanna.
But, yeah, we're talking about the same guy.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So Nate one day got a talking to from Elliot, the boss at the time, and Nate looked at me after he left and walked away and said, "That dude says one more thing with a punch from his fat fucking stomach." And Elliot called me over, and he had intercoms on the whole store to listen because they had wired. And he asked me what Nate said, and he word for word said that. I was like, you know what, man? This is between y'all. I have no idea what he said.
Yep. Nope, not getting in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Hail to the no.
But yeah, big personalities in countercultures are always like the definition of what you ought to be in a counterculture, I think, and in a way I'm tying that together with Nate. He's a big personality in that, but
yeah, I think there was a lot of big personalities in that timeline that we were hanging out with, like not just our intermediate circle, but even the people that hung out like on the outside that ended up coming into our circle later, like Rendon and all those people, like that generation, like that I think that style of music that we are all in love with just drew those types of people in,
You're absolutely right, man. I don't think it would have been for us what it was in those days had we not had those people. Honestly, the way you speak about me, the whole introduction, I was like, it's funny when people talk well about you is it's rare that you ever see those things in yourself. You see a totally different persona that you put out to the world and you expect the world to see. But no matter how far you travel in life, like the people that stick by you, like the people you want on your roster, like your team, always
for sure
see the good, and they're always willing to point that out. I really appreciate that about you. But like even you were a big personality.
Yeah.
I think we both were. It was like the school of misfit toys.
Yeah, man, I was. But you know what? You have to, what sparked this whole conversation and this podcast between you and I now is how we were getting into. I don't think anyone realized this until I pointed it out to you and maybe a few people at that time. But that was like I was born in Montgomery. And when I was like 4.5 or 5, I was moved to Gulf Shores, Alabama. And so I stayed there until I was 17 and then moved to Selma for my senior year to do military school. And then I left there. And then I had a choice on the interstate literally at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Do I go to Gulf Shores or do I go to Mimi's house in Montgomery? And I just made my choice and went to my grandmother's house. And the next day, I don't remember how, dude, it was so like serendipitous how I got involved with these people. It was like I think MySpace had a big thing to do with it. Maybe I was on MySpace looking for shows, and the first person that I ever saw in that area that was remotely close to what I was into was Alex Koenig from the Prattville High School area.
Yeah.
And he took me to a show where I met David Hudson, and then David Hudson introduced me to Nate, and then Nate's band played, and then Nate needed me to plug something in, so I plugged something in, and then he introduced me to, and it was just like dude, it was like a little ping pong session. It was like do, and that's how it went down, almost like overnight. It was like a 3-day experience with one dude from an area that I found on MySpace because I was, if I would have never met him, I probably would have gotten like dry on staying up there and just moved back to the beach.
Yeah.
It's weird how that works.
So how did so at 1 a.m. you took off?
Yeah, that's a whole nother story in its own. But to segue, I forgot how I brought. Okay, so the loud personality came from me feeling like I was on vacation all the time because I chose to not go home. I chose to, go live somewhere where nobody knew me, nobody, you know what I mean? So it's like that. I think the loud personality was contributed to being so far away from home and being on my own for the first at 17,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that's, I as far as I know, I don't, and again, to the podcast viewers and to you, I want to go into detail about this, but last I heard is that I'm the only person in the history of Marion Military Institute to escape the military academy and not be retrieved and brought back.
You're kidding me, dude. The only person. Because I after I met Voldemort, I went to... You like Voldemort too?
Yeah, when I met Voldemort, I moved back to the idea of like going to parties and reaching out, and I ended up seeing a bunch of like military academy cadets like that I went to school with. And then when that died down and I met Jessica and fell in love, we went to a few parties and ended up running into a few of them again, and some other ones that I hadn't seen prior to that. So it was like, and then so it was like, from what they all told me, that was like a small rumor that had potentially, from what I hear, gone around for a little bit, is that I was the only person to ever escape and not be brought back. But I'd already made it across state lines, and I was like 3 months away from graduation. So I don't think, and we were the last graduating class in that class of kids that were coming into the school that were high schoolers, because after we had graduated, they weren't letting in any more high schoolers. They were only going to be a primary Christian college after that.
You know what's funny is I always remembered a story about you breaking out of Marion Military Institute. That's like the one thing I'm like, oh, Tyler, yeah, he broke out of military school.
You know, it was something that I was so scared of at the time, and I didn't even know that anyone. I wasn't even sure that I was even gonna. And it was probably because it was before, like, for real cell phones. It was when phones were still flipping and shit. Yeah. You know, that I felt like I was doing anything for real wrong. I was just like getting my ass out of the fucking way, because my heart was not here. It was with my girlfriend at the time, who, it's not even important, but you know, it's just, I was just leaving. I was like, you know, I'm not going to be here anymore. Like dude, it was such a strategic thing too, the way that I broke out of there. I broke out of there like 2 hours at a time over like a 36-hour span.
What's the name of that movie? What are we talking about here, where he like has a poster over his cell wall and breaks out of like a prison?
Oh, The Rock. Yeah.
The Rock?
Yeah, with Sean Connery in it and shit. Yeah, where he breaks out of Alcatraz.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, that's a good movie. Yeah, kinda. I did that because I had to drive through a fence and like a 8-foot tall shrubbery, like double-decker shrubbery. Yeah, dude, it was like for like the begin, like when I got onto the campus from the parking lot that I had to drive through, that was surrounded in barbed wire. Well, it had the barbed wire on top. It was a fence with barbed wire on top. Yeah. I got the fuck out of there. I drove through that real fast, and that was where it was real actionist. But then after that, the action kind of, you know, dulled down a little bit. I kind of got onto the highway and then to a few county roads, and then I knew where I was from there because I went to the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, and I was like, all right, so if I take this all the way, I can go to 65, take 65 up to Fairview out into Montgomery and shit. So,
hey, dude, you hauled.
I did, man, in a Honda.
The CRV?
The CRV, baby.
Dude,
the green machine, bro.
Auburn?
Do what?
Do you remember when we were in Auburn for drunken whatever?
Which time, bro? How many times did we go see With Blood Comes Cleansing at the 467 house in Auburn?
I don't think I ever got to go to the 467, honestly. I think
you did. You went to the 467, you went to the Independence, and you went to, where else did we go? Where was the main place we went to shows up in Auburn?
When I was able to go, it was always the Indy. But the time I'm talking about, for whatever reason, was like game day weekend. I was drunker than any human should ever be, and decided when we got to Taco Bell, I was going to topple over. And if this incriminates me in any way, it's past the statute of limitations for anybody on the podcast. Listen, I topple over the grease trap behind Taco Bell, which was way too full. I think I pulled like a back muscle doing that. And then we snatched up a couple like lawn chairs and stuff, and I peed out of your passenger window.
Oh, I do remember that, dude. Was Jamie Sunderman with us?
He might have been.
Dude, I remember that. I remember that because I went to Tuscaloosa with the same idea. Like, that's what we did. Like, I remember going through a Wendy's, hopping through the drive-through window, and talking someone into a free double cheeseburger. Hop back through the window, paid, forgot to get my food, went back. Dude, we were, oh my God. Okay, went to Dustin. It was like, I don't remember he played in the Escape Frame. But went back to his house with Wes, and then we got up with Jamie Sunderman and went and stole a bunch of alarm clocks and coolers and warm Coors Light and shit. How did we segue to this, dude? How do we get back to what we're on? Oh, fuck. All right, but hey, look, we do have to take a break, so I'm going to hang up with you, and I'm going to call you back in about 3 minutes. I'm going to take a pee break. I'm going to refill my water bottle, and we're going to do what would be our sponsor segment.
Okay, very good. I'm going to go ahead and try and drink some water in the meantime.
All right, Bubba. I'll talk to you in just 1 second. We will be right back in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so because I'm an idiot, we have to redo that one more time. I forgot to turn my my mics up. So welcome back to an episode of Body Language Podcast, episode 35. Travisio Manuelio Nacho Libresio Pantalones. Nacho. Yeah, episode 35. Welcome back. Yeah, man, it's great having you. Sorry about that. I didn't have my mics in, but I didn't have them up. So I'm a dipshit, and I'm sorry.
No worries. I would say, like, man, that's JV squad stuff, but I literally have no idea how much it takes to run a podcast. So.
No, well, it is, dude. That's definitely, you're right. That's definitely amateur hour shit. But I'm a one-man podcast team. I record my podcast, I shoot my podcast, I do the audio, I do the editing, I do all the logos and the intros and outros, and for the most part, the music. And yeah, dude. So it's like yeah, man, I'm a one-man team. So sometimes I forget, and plus I drink for every podcast. Okay, so sometimes I forget, and when I hit stop record, I pull my mics down so I can't incriminate myself in case I get into an altercation or I fall down and look like an idiot. Like,
well, it's funny. I was feeling kind of bad because I had drunk before. I've since quit in the last segment we did. I had been finishing a beer, and I'm like, oh my God, these 9%ers are way too powerful.
What are you drinking on?
Voodoo Ranger IPA.
Oh, hell nah, bro.
The Imperial. What?
Nope. Look, there's really not much beer or wine or liquor or liqueur or mead that I won't drink, but, like, dude, that Ranger, I had the green label and the red label one from Publix one time on those end cap, make your own 6-pack shits, and, bruh, I had to just smoke the rest of the night. I wasn't even into drinking. I just hung it up, bro. I was like, damn. And that's not my style at all.
They're rough and tough, man. I used to drink them when we got done with boating for the day. And my coworker, Will, who is from, he was from like Tampa, Florida. Total Southern dude. And he was like the only Southerner I knew where I worked. So like we got down listening to like 3-6 Mafia as we're cleaning up the boats. And
nice. Where was this at?
This is in Moab when I was working as a riverboat guy.
That's right. Hey, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, man? Like, tell us about like some of your not to cut you off. You can finish what you were saying, but segue it to some cool ass stories about being a guide, because I don't think, like, I think most of the viewers that watch this podcast will probably, I'd say at least half will know you. So I'm sure they would love to hear some of your stories about your journeys out there, man.
That's pretty neat. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I had this romantic relationship, and I think I always do, with the hard jobs in life.
Yeah.
Food, culinary, and whatnot.
Yeah, I know you were busting ass at Catherine's when you were out there. Jordan spoke very highly of your food when you were out there.
Yeah, I did all that for a while, and I gained a bunch of weight, wanted to lose it, lost it. Long story short.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
By the way, all of Travis's links to his Instagram, his Facebook, and hopefully the next time we shoot a podcast, I can tell them that your YouTube channel will be in the description. Your link will be in the description.
That's right.
So anyway, all of his info will be in the description below. So
yeah, give it a follow, give it a like. Either way, show some love. Thanks, man. Either way, so I saw on Indeed, riverboat, like be a river guide.
Yeah.
And I was an outdoorsman. I'd already gotten into my car and was looking to move somewhere. January 21st, I was, sold everything and moved into a car. Sublet the apartment and had already gotten the job. I think I had a phone call, talked to this dude named Brian, and he was like, all right, well, we'll see you in March. I was like, is that a job offer or not, dude?
Yeah, I'm just gonna fucking go out there on a whim.
Yeah, pretty much that's what it felt
Motherfucker,
like.
I'm from Alabama, be up front with me.
Yeah. I was like, dude, you gotta give me a formal something. We're used to formal stuff out here.
Yeah.
Moab's not like that, though. Got into riverboating just to stay in shape because I was into calisthenics, and anybody who looks at the IG that I, create content for, I was trying to be a personal trainer. Like, I'd lost a bunch of weight and all that, and I was trying to keep it off. And so I thought riverboating would be like the best thing. Rowing boats, like down a river. Come on. Like, yeah.
Your job is cardio.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, it might kill you. We only get to do this trip around the planet a few times before, like, we expire. Why not do something that scared the hell out of you? And believe me, I was pissing pants scared.
Yeah, but it's also like, to go back to like the way that the things that we liked when we were younger, when we were growing up in the city and shit, like we were always doing stuff that kind of tested the boundaries a little bit, as like most kids do and should and probably will. Not to speak for every kid, but that's just one of those things that like you and please don't let me step on your toes in any way at all. But you have nothing to lose right now, dude. You have a girlfriend at the time, but at the time you were single. And you were just like doing your thing and like, fuck it, right?
Pretty much.
Let's do it, dude. Let's live life to the fullest. Let's go for it. Send it, baby.
I'd gone through a big breakup that kind of showed me that, I think it was like the first time I didn't know where to go in life. And no, it definitely wasn't the first time, but it was the last time. Like, that fear you get when, like, the shit hits the fan and you're like, I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, you label yourself as lost.
Yeah, that petrifying feeling of like, who do I call, and not relying on yourself instead. Like, wow, I'm a human being with 5 fingers on each hand, 5 toes on each foot, and the ability to drive a car. Like, why am I worried? Like, people want food in Africa, they want ice in hell. Like, do something with your life, man. You're completely capable. I think that was the time I gave myself the ability to be an adult, because nobody gives you a handbook and says like, hey, this is how you do it now.
That's true, man. That's so fucking true. That's how I feel when fucking Voldemort and I split, bro. It was like, dude, get your shit together. Like, you had to like kick your own ass. I'm done with everyone's bullshit here, including my own. Like,
and it's funny when it happens, nobody can tell you anything.
That's true.
It's funny because you're like, nope, I know what's best for me.
Yeah.
I got into river guiding, and I don't know what the heck I thought it was going to be. I thought it was, like I said, I romanticized like hard jobs, and I didn't know it was going to be a difficult job. I thought I was just going to row a boat. My first day on the river, the wind was blowing upriver 45 miles an hour, sustained gusts.
Holy shit. And you're in a valley at that point, because if you're on those rivers, those valleys are what, like hundreds and hundreds of feet steep.
Yeah, we're talking 800-foot canyon walls. I'm in the middle of the valley, about, 25 miles out of town from Moab. We're talking about geological features that are 250 million years old that were literally ocean bed floors standing above us, 800 feet, You're
like, God, it's so beautiful. I don't want to die here, though.
Right. Well, it wasn't about dying. It was about, like, for me, like, so the whole thing about guiding is you have to interpret the land before you. That's the only reason I know about, like, the rock features I was looking at and just spoke on that,
Yeah.
Like, So there was a lot of education that had to go into that, and I just found myself dumb to like books, but like I did the work and research and listened to other people who had guided, and they weren't all the best people, but whoever is, but they taught me a lot, and I learned a lot just like putting notes to paper, and you kind of surprise yourself sometimes when you like do work and you like you get it. So yeah, like the big deal was I'm rowing. These people are miserable in boats this day, and the wind is just beating the heck out of them, beating the heck out of me, and I'm still having to like tell them about, hey, you see that rock right over there?
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's been here for motherfucking 1700 fucking years.
Talking about the Native American tribes that lived out there. Then
did you ever get to experience that, to meet and see any of the like some of the tribes that are maintaining that land out there, or is it all just state park now?
So in Moab, that's a good question actually. In Moab, you've got two major state parks. You've got Arches, let's say state. That's national park. Arches National Park, and Canyons. And in Canyonlands, there's like 4 districts: Needles, Green River. I'm gonna do an injustice if I keep trying right now. Anyways, so I mean, we're talking like a vast area of desert. Like one of the most remote places in the world is in the Needles district, out in Canyonlands National Park. And yes, the Native Americans that live out there primarily are Ute. But I'd seen them when I was doing my laundry, like the laundry shop. I like felt too embarrassed to like speak. Almost like
you were imposing.
Yeah, well, when you feel like an invader, especially being from another part of the country.
Like they were looking at you being like, look at this kook. Like
dude with long hair.
Look at this kook, man. Look at this fucking wetsuit wearing bitch in the grocery store, having ass motherfucker.
The best thing we do to them is try and speak Spanish because they're ignorant,
Hola.
We spoke a whole different language, and I was, oh yeah, no, we can't talk.
That's great. Oh, by the way, for the audience, I'm pretty sure most of you are intelligent viewers, intelligent fans of the podcast. But Travis, if you haven't done your research beforehand or don't know him that are listening to this podcast, he's a Mexican. Yeah, both your mother and your father are.
Oh, just my mother.
Okay,
Dad's
see.
got Spanish background. He's Cajun.
You can see why that's confusing.
Yeah.
Your dad is tan as shit.
No, dude.
He is about the shade of an acoustic guitar year round.
Yeah. Got a nice seal on it too.
Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, yeah. Dude, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, not at all. It's just
that's what this podcast should have been called, the Digression Podcast. The digression. Oh, let's bring up a topic and then just throw it down a hole over inside jokes that only the guest. Oh shit.
Have mercy.
Oh no. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry, bro. Sorry.
I know. I don't know. I didn't speak much to the natives when I did like run into them. Not out of like, oh, I don't like that. Like I'm pretty open-minded.
Yeah.
Pretty open-minded. I have no issues with color, race, creed, sexual denomination. But I just very much felt that I was an outsider and encroaching upon territory that they probably wished wasn't being encroached on.
Yeah. Well, like I said, kind of like you were like or like you said, you were like an invader. You were just like, hey, I know it's like legally I'm allowed to be here, but I know you guys are pissed about it.
Right. Jeez, man. I didn't really talk to a lot of them at all. But yeah, just because I was like anxious and or embarrassed or all that. But right. Guiding was fun. Anybody that has an idea that they want to guide, it's really, really tough work. And I low-key consider myself a hard worker. I think that like everybody can be and is, like I don't ever like compare myself to somebody else and be like, yeah, no, you can't cut it. No, I'm lying. I do that all the time at a workplace now. But river guiding is one of those things that like, it's a beautiful, beautiful place to wherever you're at. It's gonna be gorgeous. You're gonna meet thousands of people, and it'll be a fantastic time. Very loose. Stick to yourself if you want to maintain like personal growth. Because if you get caught up in it, like guide life is very loose. Is I think a good word to put it. Like from a southern boy from Alabama, like loose means a lot. You know what I mean?
A lot of counterculture mindset, kind of like festival hopping. I live here for 6 months out of the year, and then I live here 6 months out of the year. Kind of people, vagabond, modern day 2020 vagabonds, if you will.
That ain't true hippies. Like I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Like,
well, to be honest, I've heard a lot of hippies down here, man. Like, and some that are not hippies, that are just more dreadheads and that live a more open, economical, green mindset down here. They talk about the hippie mindset, and honestly, dude, a lot of them are just the new age gypsies.
Yeah.
They're fucking gypsies, dude. They're not hippies. They're fucking gypsies, because a lot of them you can't fucking trust.
No, you're right, actually. And that's what I found there. And I don't think it's much different in any place where you go guiding with that type of climate.
Yeah. And I don't say that by imagery or aesthetics by any means, but it's like typically the people who like wear like those fucking PJ pants with slides and a big pine cone necklace with a 5 o'clocker going on their chin. It's just like some of those people are very becoming individuals that work hard throughout the year so they can do the festival thing, and a lot of them just like ride the tip to the tip to the tip to the tip, and they sell and they do and they fuck people over, and it's just like their whole life is kind of like a new gypsy.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Not to put that whole demographic in a box, because that's not true at all. A lot of people look at me and be like, oh, you're just some fucking pissed off indie hardcore kid with tattoos that's now like made positive and has kids and has a family. Oh, what, we have all heard that story before. So not to segregate anybody, but I mean, I think most people listen to the podcast, and you included. Am I wrong though? You know what I mean? They're a little bit untrustworthy, if I may say so. I'm willing to go on the record and say half ya's a sketchy.
I would say what I've learned is that like a vast majority of people I've met in my life haven't truly been worth like my time. Yeah, they're sketchy.
Yeah.
But like there's those few that you meet. I met like a couple, like a handful of people while I was there. And we're talking about a town rather of 5,000 people. That influxes to maybe 8,000 in the busy season during the summer.
The Moab
folks that were like worth, Moab, that were worth like kicking it with, and you kick it with them, and like, if you're like, one thing I got to learn growing up is trust your gut, and that's one you can't really teach. Is like, if you ever feel sketched out by a situation, you're probably right to feel that way and dip out. Friendships, relationships, I mean, like anything that's toxic, just remove that from your life, because it's not worth having. And that was a big thing I had to like invest in while I was out there, and I hated to, because I went there with such an open mind and heart to like meet, greet, and like befriend anything that came across me, but sometimes you get burned acting like that and being naive all over again, even though we know better.
Well, Travis, dude, look at me, man. I mean, look at what I did. Like, I went out to Prattville, and I went out to Montgomery and Auburn and Birmingham and got burned. But if it wasn't for me getting burned, I wouldn't have sub-tiered myself, or maybe like adjusted and up-tiered myself socially, and I would have never met the people that led me to my beautiful wife that gave me my amazing kids and this amazing life I have now. So sometimes those things are a large necessity into the progress of your life. And I mean progress actually moving forward type shit,
I have to agree, because I did meet my sweetheart that I am with. She's at work right now. I'm probably going to have to pick her up in like the next 30. But
Okay. Well, that's what I was going to segue earlier, man, is that we'll probably cut this podcast off in about 10. But I would love for this to be a part 2 because I didn't realize the other night when we were on the phone for what did I screenshot it and put it on Instagram because I was so impressed with our conversation.
5 minutes or something. You posted it in your story to me.
Yeah, dude. It was like my buddy Dan and my best friend Bailey, my sister, my grandmother. I call those people probably every other day. So and one of my best friends, Dax. He's been on the podcast. I call those people frequently, and we'll talk for an hour or so. But like, other than some of the Hall brothers, I don't think I talk to people as long as I've talked to you on the phone before, because we've done this before, like maybe 2 or 3 times over the last 10 years, but we always stay, we're a micro contact type of friendship that will see each other every few years and just pick up where we left off.
I do appreciate that friendship.
I do too, man, especially because we were always living on other sides of the fucking country or different parts of the state.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, do you have a beer next to you?
I don't right now.
Do you have anything to drink next to you?
Where's my water?
Do you have a doobie? Do you have a doobie next to you? Do you have a doobie?
The pipe's in the other room.
God damn it. All right, well, look, we're trying to cheers, so let's cheers, man.
Cheers.
Cheers, all right? So, cheers to you, brother. I love you, man.
Cheers to you, man. I love you, too.
All right, so, do what?
I was saying it's good being able to reconnect. Like,
dude, I know, right? We need to do this. I want to do a part 2. We're going to do a part 2 to this podcast. We're going to do a part 1, part 2, and like, you know, we're going to keep doing podcasts together. I think like I said, this is episode 35. We got episode 36 coming January 3rd, I believe. Jessica and I are shooting episode 37 together. We're going to do another bed podcast that we're doing now, like a bedcast. So we've got a few podcasts coming up. So I would like for us to do another one short, you know, here the next, I'd say like 2 months or less, you know, that would be nice.
The sooner the better, I think, honestly, because then we can start drinking together when the podcast
yeah. Well, that's what we were doing last time we were talking, and it was just one of those things where we got in such depth of conversation, and I think we're on that like universal like mental wire of where we were just going back and forth. We were like, dude, this would be a great podcast. We gotta shoot this.
Oh yeah, and I still think there's a lot of content we haven't quite scraped the surface of, because like I think when you and I talk in any capacity, we tend to what was it, the divergent.
yeah, right.
We jump like topics just because, like, I don't know, it's been a while and it's easy. Like, we've always done that.
All right, well, look, before I let you get out of here, man, and go get a beautiful female, tell me 2 things, all right? While you were being a guide, I want you to tell me a time that was your closest death experience, and I want you to give me 3 records that are just giving you a musical boner in life right now.
Okay, so the first time I found myself nearest to death, it didn't take me too long. I had just started working with NavTech training, and then, you know, everything shut down for COVID. It was wild. You know, like the 14th of March, we were off the river. Like, we did one last river trip. I tripped acid for the first time, did mushrooms, and like went down Class 4 rapids.
Pause. That's part 2 for us. We have got to go into what we were talking about last time we spoke. Right?
Okay. So,
part 2. All right, but anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
So, nearest death experience. No, you're right. Nearest death experience was after that. I went out to the Robbers Roost district of Utah, about 2 hours away from Moab, with all my guide buddies who canyoneered. I was just a rock climber, so I was like, all right, cool, let's go play in rocks. And no, not even. We went to Arches National Park and we pirated the Fiery Furnace. It is one of the most opinions.
See, that right there just shows you, Travis, that trouble doesn't find you, bro. You find it.
Yeah, no, totally jumped into this one, man.
Dude, you're punk rock by default, okay? Like,
you know, punk rock with a collar every now and again.
Oh man.
But so we're going into this 8-mile death march. I fall into a sand pit within the first 10 minutes and sprain my ankle, and I'm wearing New Balance running shoes in a canyon. Sandstone, like, this is not proper foot attire. I left my water bottle in the car. It was only 24 ounces anyway, so I might as well have died out there in high desert country.
Jesus, dude.
We're pirating this. The National Park Service is actually following us actively. There's only like a couple rangers in the park at the time, but they caught on pretty quick when we parked out in front of the entrance to the canyon. So, do my first huge rappels. I rappelled naked down Edward Abbey Arch at 182 feet. We all rappelled naked for that big rappel because it's a hard arch to find and it's a hard rappel to find, and it's pretty epic. It was amazing. Like, that wasn't the death story. So on the way out,
you got to go into detail of that next podcast.
Oh yeah. Marching out of a canyon is a lot like a death march. You've gone in, you've had your fun, there's no more rappels. Now you have to march back up and out, and it's just a big hike. And you have to climb, scramble, like, some of them are really, like, dangerous. There's a lot of loose rock. And we found our way out, and it's up a 400-foot fin that's about 200 meters long. So 400 foot up and 200 meters, it was steep, 45-degree angle for the most part. And this fin, made out of sandstones, like, buttered up next to another fin, so you can kind of wedge your body in. And I get about 100 meters up, and I've got battery acid pumping through my thighs, and I've got two people behind me, and I'm like, I'm giving up. This is it. I'm 200 foot off the ground right now, And I was like, body sent, like, I was dehydrated, I was hungry, sprained ankle, like, literally, like, felt like I had nothing left to give, and was like, that's it, this is how I die, like, in front of people in Utah, and like, hell, it'll be a beautiful fall, so I'm gonna try and keep my eyes open the whole time. And, like, started going down that rabbit hole, and, like, felt my legs giving out and started sliding down and losing traction on this fin that I was climbing up, and a different perspective hit me all of a sudden, and I was like, dude, if you fall and you slide down, you're knocking two people down and killing them with you. And let's say you don't, everybody gets to watch you die. Like, they'll have to live with that for the rest of their lives. And we're doing an exposed free climb up, like, it's maybe a 5'6", 5'7", but, like, long, tough, and arduous, So on the scale, like, it's a relatively easy climb, I would say. Maybe a 5'8", which is getting a little more intermediate. But still, like, it hit me that, like, other people would have to live with my dead corpse on their conscience and have to possibly carry me out. And also, this is illegal. So I bit down real hard and, found my traction and stopped slipping down and off to the side of the fin that was maybe, like, 2.5 feet wide. You could bear hug it, but you're looking down at the ground the whole time. And that was my nearest death out here so far.
Who was guiding this climb?
Actually, he was my lead river guide, a guy named Keith, I would love to have him on board one day if I could ever get him to. He's one of those people that doesn't like to tell a lot about himself. He's proud, he's quiet, really strong individual. Keith, he taught me how to row Class 4 rapids and, all that jazz, and taught me how to row a boat in general. Just a strange wild card guy, like, has no idea where out is, but has a good sense of direction kind of guy. He's like, yeah, this may not be the way, but this will get us there. So, like, following up and he'll always choose the hardest path. It's almost like he's testing everybody he's friends with to see if the shit broke out loose, like, they would be able to protect him because they're tough.
That sounds like a few tattooers that I know. Right. Oh, you want a tattoo? You want to apprentice? Okay, yeah. Sounds good to me. Come on in here.
Yeah, they through shit that's unnecessary.
Come on in here, little bitch.
Yeah. But a totally nice guy, very good square head on his shoulders, just, total gypsy, nomad. So yeah, he was heading up the whole expedition that day. And man, when I'm telling you, shirts off, like, busting ass back to the car as fast as we could, because the National Park Service had ridden by our cars. We had some people on the outside that were keeping spotters for us.
Yeah.
We hauled ass, and in my brand new Crosstrek, sweat just didn't give a shit all over the back of my seat because it was worth it. It was worth putting that sweat in there because I almost died that day.
Wow, man! Wow.
That was a trip. That was a true trip.
That's crazy, bro. I think we should have started with the three records instead of that. How do we segue to the engine and keeping you alive right now?
So, I've got to say, Imaginary Appalachia by Coulter Wall. Out here, folks call it Appalachia. Appalachian. Yeah, it's wrong. It's Appalachia. So by Coulter Wall, like he's got a voice like Smoke and Sex.
I'm very familiar with Coulter Wall.
Oh, very good shit right there. Like that's a vibe. All Them Witches has been getting me through a lot. Like it's been my chill music lately. I want to say, let me check out the album because I listen to. You have to excuse me. I listen to all my music. I find a song and I put it in a playlist. And every now and then, when like a band hits me, like I jive real hard and I'll look at an album all of a sudden. So I want to give the proper album. It's not Lightning at the Door. It's The Dying Surfer Meets His Maker. That album is clutch play. Like if you're high stress or getting done with work for the day, that's been my get through. Waking up in the morning, it's easy just to wake up to as well. It's just very, very cool. Like I think they're based out of Tennessee too, so they're bluesy as hell, like jam band, rock and roll. And then lastly, only because of some really good hanky panky I had earlier, I'm gonna have to say Urban Flora with Galamattis and Alina Baraz. She's got a voice like silk and will just lull any giant to sleep. And the whole album is just ethereal, whatever you call it. So those three I would suggest.
Wow, man. Okay, see, so we have this thing on the podcast that we started last podcast called It's Not As Big As You Think It Is, and it involves only music. And that right there was probably one of the more better musical proposal, just idea and it just feeling and emotion of how someone feels about some music that we've heard on this podcast in quite a while. That was I'm gonna check out everything that you just told me simply because of how you delivered that.
Well, we'll say it is getting late. So
aside from Coulter Wall, I'm familiar with the Coulter Wall record.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I was listening to that a lot in the that vibes with me very, very deeply. But yeah, dude, if you're getting in bed and want to spark a flame, put on that Urban Flora. Urban Flora. Oh yeah. Anybody who's getting ready for bed and laying next to their significant other should do that.
I feel that, homie. Hell yeah.
Coconut oil and candles.
All right. Yeah. Well, look. We, when can we expect you back on the podcast, my friend?
Let's see. I'm off every weekend, dude.
Yeah, me too, for the most part.
Okay. What's your schedule looking like next weekend?
Well, I mean, aside from, I will be in Birmingham, that because, Christmas and it's closer to the weekend. So maybe, and then the first weekend I've got a podcast, the first weekend in January, I've got a podcast. So why don't we shoot for the second weekend in January?
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds good. I'll go ahead and calendar that in, and we'll try and pick up there. And in the meantime, if you've got I'll just listen to this and try and jot down some notes of where I should pick up.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, I think the podcast went great. Like I said before, I think most of the people who will listen to this episode pretty much know who we are and who you are and shit. So, I mean, I wouldn't worry about that at all. I think, the vlogs are the only thing that I've ever gotten any negative reviews on. And it's only been the videos that have trended upwards of 300, 400, or 500 views. And, if you get 25 dislikes, you get 140 likes. So it's it's a good ratio, but you're going to get some commentation that isn't always becoming, you know what I mean? But the podcast though, it's people aren't going to randomly come to my podcast just to listen to some dipshit idiot with dreadlocks and tattoos talk. It's going to be people that we know, people we've been to shows with, been in bands with, you know, people we grew up with and shit like that. So it's, you know, the podcast gets pretty positive reviews, so you don't got to worry about that. And the part 2, I think, is going to be good because I want to go into more depth on like some of the things that we've done together. As far as like late night Jägermeister and
oh god,
robbing the local Publix of their cough medicine and disappearing into a big green field with our friends with a few doobies and a pack of cigarettes or so, you know.
General old shenanigans.
Yeah, bro. All right, man. Well, look, I love you very much, and thank you for being on this episode with us. And I will shoot you a text or so tomorrow. And yeah, dude, I'll send you the link whenever this is edited and up. It'll be up in the next day or so, probably 48 hours or less, so you could look for it. I'll send you a link and shit.
Oh, very cool, man. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been my first podcast experience, and it's been cool.
Dude, I wish we had more time to talk about more shit, but you know, I know you got things to do, and I've got a few things I got to go take care of at the moment. So, I mean, you know, hey, but that's just, I think honestly, we'll get to part 2 and be like, all right, that's it. We need a part 3, you know, and then, and then like 6 or 7 parts in, it'll be like, all right, well, that's pretty much the entire story.
That's life. We had a busy one, didn't we?
Yeah, no shit, right? No shit. All right, dude. Well, look, I love you, man. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon. We'll see you in a few weeks for episode like 37 or 38 or shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it, man. If I don't talk to you, hopefully we'll talk before Christmas. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely, man. You too. Merry Christmas, and be careful. Go getting your girl tonight. And like I said, I'll shoot you a text tomorrow, and I'll give you some deets and some info on when we'll release this podcast.
Very well.
All right, man. And like I said, all of Travis's like, you know, his music is whatever's and his Facebooks and his all of his nudes and his OnlyFans and like his Playboy shoot and all that shit's in the description. All right, man. Well, look, I love you, dude, and we will see you in a few weeks. I'll give you a buzz tomorrow.
Sounds cool. Talk to you then.
Okay, episode 35 or 36 out. Body language. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next year. Peace.